Hello, welcome to another Let's Talk Leadership. And today we have invited Jonathan Bouter. He stands for Freedom Motivates and he's a mindset coach. And as always, I'm also the host, Sasja with FuturaFemina. We invest in getting the feminine future, so FuturaFemina, and specifically the part of leadership, how you can take leadership in your life to the forefront. And today, that is exactly the topic which I'm discussing with Jonathan. So we talk about feminine leadership. Jonathan, welcome.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me for this beautiful interview. And maybe for the people who viewing this or are listening this are thinking, why female leadership with a man? Well, actually, my business is for female entrepreneurs. That's why I'm in this talk show host talking about female leadership, because that's what I help with. I'm Jonathan. My name is Jonathan. I'm a lifestyle and mindset coach, and my specialty is helping female entrepreneurs with basically breaking free from old habits, breaking free from the old person which they are, and trying to embrace the real version of themselves and trying to be the person that sets them free in the world, sets them free as an entrepreneur. And that's where I help especially females with. So thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me, talking about this, well, really important issue standpoint for female being leaders, female, getting the best out of themselves. So that's really important to talk about. So
yeah, I totally agree with you. You come from it from a slightly different viewpoint. But to me also, it's about feminine leadership, and feminine leadership is actually something for both male and females. Just like you're sitting now across to me, you're a great example of how feminine leadership actually takes into account. And because you took that's exactly what you do. Freedom motivates. That's the freedom to do really what's close to your heart. That's what I've come to know about you. And that's actually a very crucial part of feminine leadership, which is, of course, also for females very important. And I also help a lot of females, but I also help a lot of men to grow themselves and to grow their business. So for me, it's really about the feminine side next to all of the masculine parts, which we already have so much interaction with from the culture we grew up in, from the people who raised us. I see that as also a common thread between your life and my life as we come to know each other, that we both were in situations where it was quite a male-dominated part of us, and from there we have now the motivation to really trigger that in others, to really live the life which is close to your heart. Perhaps you can tell us something about how your breakout happened, Jonathan.
Well, yeah, that's really nice that you say, and I think it's really important to know that you are congruent with your heart and your mind, and which I needed to learn from my own experience. And talking about leadership, I was someone in a male-dominated world. I worked for many years in male-dominated worlds. I was in the army. I'm a veteran from a tour to Afghanistan. I worked in a prison as a prison guard, and those worlds are dominated by men, male thinking, and do energy. But there is less room, and understandably, in those kinds of professions, for intuition, for heartfelt, for what makes you happy. That's not something you need in those kinds of professions, but we as humans need that as well, besides all the things you do for your job. But there's also something inside you which needs to be fulfilled, which needs to be taken care after. If your intuition screams one way and you do something else, then you're not incongruent with what you want.
Yeah, and you lose also a lot of energy. That's at least what I experienced myself also, and what I see also in a lot of clients who are not motivated anymore to really live their lives because you know, slowly but surely that energy is flowing away. It's draining them, and then you know they don't have the energy to follow their hearts anymore.
Yeah, not following what makes you happy is an energy drainer. And for the most of the people in the first phase, they know they want something, and that was for me the same. And that's why how I found out. I found out in the wrong way because I was really unhappy because I did a job working which really made me unhappy day-to-day basis. I was the guy who came into work on Monday and said, "Is it weekend already?"
Yeah, that's an important sign. It might be an obvious one, but you know, this is a sign
Yeah.
that I've heard time and time again. If you're just looking for the weekend, there's something wrong with your work week.
Yeah, and I was that guy, and not just for 1 year. I did that many years, and part of that was me convincing that I needed the job for money to pay my mortgage, and the other part, seeing my mother as a young child working to keep the roof over our heads, to pay the bills as a single mom raising 3 children, and it was me and my 2 older sisters, and seeing her unhappy, seeing her pattern of you don't need a job to be happy, you need a job to pay the bills. So for me, besides the story I told myself that I needed the job to pay my mortgage, I also had an example from my mother showing me that that was the way life should. So I just did the same as my parents, like a lot of people did, thought the same as my parents. But it was until I was too unhappy, until it drained me too much, until I finally felt enough pain. And sadly enough, that's what it had to take for me to finally realize I am unhappy right now. There needs to be something to change about my life, about the way I am thinking about something. And part of that triggered that was I started to travel more and more, travel on my own. I went to further and further away and trying to figure out what I want and doing some things outside my comfort zone, which grew me and grew my self confidence, which grew my faith in seeing how things could be, how happy I could be. But it took a long while for me to convince myself to tell another story. And it was the first moment when I thought, but when I questioned my belief of do I need the money for my mortgage? Do I need this or something else to be happy? That was the first time I thought about something else. It was the belief that was so stuck inside me. It was playing on the loop. I need the money to pay the mortgage. I need the money until I finally discovered, hey, there's a new thought. And then I started to think that thought more and more. It turned that into habit.
Yeah, those beliefs are so important. Those conscious but also unconscious beliefs, and those unconscious beliefs are mostly just like you bring this example across. So much triggered from behaviors from people who are close to you. So typically your parents or the school system where you grew up with, or later on even in life, your further education or your workplace, all of those systems show you what type of life you can live. And it's also not so uncommon that you take a while to get there to see that there's another version of that possible. I did it. I had a great corporate career for many years, and but later on, I figured that I was, more and more not being myself, and then to unwind that whole system of getting to. I'm still busy with it, actually. It's like a layer which takes an onion and an onion and an onion, and it's a layer by layer. You peel that onion off, and so perhaps also one message which we can bring across today is that if you've seen that light and you're still busy in that process, don't be hard on yourself, because it will be a continuing process. And the great thing about it is that you see already the light, that there's something else, and that you are allowed to follow your heart, for instance. If I take the parallel to what you mentioned, I had also examples of parents who worked hard but didn't really like what they were doing. It was indeed also to pay the bills. So, and for me, the example for many, many years work hard. And I did that. I made, I don't know, 80, 100 hours a week. My life was work, sleep, and well, I played also hard in between to balance that, because I had to do that. I had to have some kind of a system to let all that energy out, which was not there at the place where I was good at it, by the way. I was very good at it. So I got also these confirmations, hey, you're doing well. I was on a fast track career, but in the end, most of what I did in that career did not make me happy. There were a few items that made me happy, and that was developing other people. That's what I liked. That was super to me. But here, quite frankly, I was responsible for hundreds of millions, but I would care less if there was a zero less or more involved. If I changed one person's life, that was important to me, and that is how I now look back. For sure, the seed which was then already planted, which I then already worked on, which now became the essence of me being a coach.
Beautiful, and I feel you so much and have the same feelings about coaching as well. And that first began from my own pain, first began from me not knowing what made me happy. And when I started that belief finally, and destroying that old belief that I thought that I was, and created the new version, the new belief, and finally said to myself, what else is possible, instead of being in that negative loop, and which all people have.
That's
All people have a
a beautiful question.
When you ask something, you can never get the answer to. You will never know the answer. You will always suck at this. And it's asked, and Tony Robbins says the same, ask better questions. It was until I asked what else was possible, then what else could I do? And then that question turned into another better question. And then finally, it gave me the courage, because I followed it. That's also really important. When you finally feel that incongruent feeling, that you're not happy at what you're doing, you're not happy with your relationship, you're not happy with your body, or not happy with things you're saying to you, not happy with your business, then you have to know yourself. Then you have to know what makes me happy.
Yeah.
And then small baby steps towards that feeling, to change it. It's that small baby step. It's that small thought first of me saying to myself what is possible, then doing it, then figuring out what can I do, then applying for another job, and then going to the job interview, and then finally getting another job, or what else your decision is. For me, it was that doing. And then I always say, people who do the same will think and feel the same, but people who do different will think and feel differently about themselves, about the situation, about their confidence. They will get answers. When you do something else, you will get answers from what you would like or what you won't like. And maybe choosing something will not get you the thing you want, but you will get answers.
Yeah.
This is something that will not work. This is something that will not make me happy. But you get an answer. When you're stuck in the same circle and you're not happy and you're not trying anything, you will not get any answers.
Figure it out. Yeah, indeed. So failure is part of that.
That job is not for me. That hobby is not for me. That relationship is not for me. Then you get answers by doing it, by trying it, by doing different things. So for me, it was finally doing something else which gave me the answer. And for me, luckily, it worked out. It was something that made me happy, which made me more free. And that's where my passion came from being so unhappy, being so not in line with something that makes me happy on a daily basis, which I don't want for any other. we don't want for anyone. And that's my fire, which burns in me every day, helping to make someone else conscious that you are creating a prison for yourself by not choosing what makes you happy, by not doing what makes you happy, by listening to the outside world, by listening to what your mother wants you to do, what you need to do as a female, especially female. That's why I'm helping women. There's
Yeah,
so
we were
much pressure.
those types of things. But that's also how we grew up and how we basically got drilled, is to be conscious of everything around us and not be there ourselves, but to be anything and everything the people or the situation requires from us. That's how typically more females are brought up than the males. The males typically have a little bit more freedom and to choose what they want themselves. That's slowly but surely changing, luckily.
Yeah.
That's also why we have these talks to bring also the awareness across that doesn't need to be that way. But still, especially how we all grew up, at least I see that as a common denominator from all of the conversations I had with coaches, but also with other coaches, is that is one of the prevalent things which we are helping people with. And sometimes it's also sad that such a big pain, like you're also describing it, has to be on that basis to make that change. But it's also, there are two things which motivate us. One is to get away from that pain, and the other one is to have a big goal. So either one of the two is there, because although you have to do, perhaps to make there a conscious remark, although you have to do what makes you happy, it doesn't mean that 24/7 you're doing things which make you happy, because they're also parts of that great goal or that job or that thing which really motivates you. Some of those things are also the simple to-dos which you got to do to be able to do that. So it's not just doing everything which just makes you happy, but the common denominator should be that you are happy about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think especially women are on the precipice of trying to see what they are capable of, and the world finally giving what they are capable of. Because if we are living in a dominated world, dominated society for centuries now, and we as female, they are just beginning to break that mold and just breaking that box which women have been put in by male for centuries. And that's why especially it's really important for me as a male to speak out on these issues, not only towards females, but also as a feminist guy talking about to other men, like, see what you are doing. And for me, it's lucky that I grew up with a single mom and two older sisters, which made it helpful for me to see how it is as a female to I grew up with three women, and then understand more how they think and how they live. So that's helpful for me. But now I can use that experience not just as a coach, as a male coach towards female, but especially towards male. And
yeah, you set a great example by creating a sensitivity around the subject. And that's perfect, because I also see quite a lot of men, which I also personally coach, which gotten away, and that same principle, gotten away from their feminine energy, from their feminine leadership, and they're also in that same vibe of being a little bit too much masculine dominated, and they're losing that balance too. So it really affects all of us, that our society has been also ingrained in such a way. So I think it's great that you are also so open about that, also how via social media and everything, that you are behind that, and you have a few great personal examples, like you said, from people close to you who show you what the effects of that can be, and how it. And you're also the other side of how you wish it wouldn't be. So where we want to get away from.
Yeah. And I think with everything, it's about balance. Also with male, also with female. And that's where I come in as a coach. Like, female know what female energy is, most female. But now, like, how can you change? How can you be more assertive And sadly to say, that's more male dominated energy. So that's why, how can you be more balanced between listening to the softer side, listening to your heart, choosing for self-love and self-care, but then kick your own butt and do what's need to do to get your goal, to get the things you want. And same goes for male. We have a society which, well, where everything is changing. So the male are going to a more feminine side inside the society. You need to take care of your children together. You need to run the household together. So that all is changing. So as a male, there's also still, there needs to be a balance, especially in business. So you need to be able to show your manly side, not only the feminine side. And there is a balance between working out, taking care of your body, going the extra mile, and just pushing yourself physically, which is for male really important for the testosterone, for everything, and like showing other women that you can take care of them in a different way. But there's a balance between everything, so female and male. So yeah, I totally agree that you need both sides. It's really important to know which sides you need to work on, which sides are you really good at? And sometimes it's the female side, and sometimes it's the more masculine side, which you need to cultivate more, which you need to work on more. But it all comes down to, how well do you know yourself? How conscious are the things you do? Do you do it on a consciously basis? And what do you think? What do you do? Do you know yourself? And why do you think the way you do? Where does it come from? Do you think it? Is it the old you? Is it the society you that tells you what to think? Is it your mother and father? Or are you the one thinking it? And then when you finally on that level, and even that costs a lot of work, costs a lot of experience and doing and trying to figure out what you want, and by trying different hobbies, jobs, and sometimes different different companies, then you finally know, this is me. And then you can say, I am not my thoughts, I am not things that going through my brain every day, I am the observer. And then I can choose what to think, then I can choose what to believe in, then I can choose my dreams. So it's a really hard road in which you can go on for yourself, or which you can get coaching for. That's why we do what we do, helping people to go from here to there way faster without having
it's sometimes a difficult road, and where you can get stuck. And how great, isn't it, that to have someone who understands that struggle and has been there and knows all of those different varieties for which you can do that acceleration, and from that pitfall which is coming at you, how to step across it instead of stepping into it, you know. And it all, of course, you just mentioned it, it all starts with that awareness, you know, being aware that you might want something else than you always thought, because perhaps you sucked up all of those thoughts which are around you from other people, but those perhaps aren't really the things which you want yourself. Is there one great thing you want to get the listeners or the viewers? It depends whether you can do do both things with this talk. What is the thing you would like to, let's say, to round also off the conversation a bit, because we're we're chatting away quite easily. The key tip, trick, or question you could ask yourself, you know, if you think about all of those experiences, and there's one thing of this half hour which people shouldn't be forgetting, what would it be, Jonathan?
I think, and to be conscious, and maybe if you are or if you aren't, are you on the level you want to be? And a question you can ask yourself is, what makes me happy? And not just ask that, sit with it. Literally sit, no TV, no phone, no nothing. Burn a candle, a huge one, and then sit there and just ask yourself, what makes me happy? And let the day to day come in and like a cloud go away, and then reflect on it. Is that, and write it down. Is this what makes me happy? Okay. And what's that answer? And ask yourself that 5 times. What makes me happy? And write down the answer.
You mean 5 times in that one session?
Yeah, just sit with it, sit with your thoughts, sit with your feeling, what makes me happy, and then do it for a week. Just go there, sit there again, what makes me happy, and take the time, take a moment for yourself without distraction, without family, without kids running around, or if it has to be, put your alarm clock on at 6 before your kids get out of bed and sit there for 20 minutes, or when they are at bed, or when you have time for yourself without your partner, where you can be alone with your thoughts. And maybe it's a different question which you need to be answered with, but you've got all the answers inside of you. You've got knowledge and wisdom which can come from your unconscious, which is so much stronger, which knows so much more answers than your crazy brain, which is influenced by thoughts and by to-do and by stresses and everything. You need to have calm and relaxation. So what your question is, and it could be what makes me happy, or what else struggle you're dealing with. I know you know the answer, but you have to take your time with it. And normally we don't take your time. So if I can give something to the people who are listening, when you are struggling with something, just write the question down and sit with it, and then go ask it another time and another time, and take a whole week on just that question, and then go back, what makes me happy? And the next day, what makes me happy? The next day, and answer it. And the end of the week, you have so many things you've written down, especially if you ask yourself this 5 times every day. I will know for certain that you will get more answers, and all those answers are inside of you, and you don't need anyone else. You don't need a coach for that, because you have an internal wisdom that's so strong, which you can use. And after that, when you know the answer, and then you think, oh my God, how can I do this? Then you can also ask a coach to get you from that point, which you know now the answer to, from how do I implement that in my life? How can I create that thing which I want, which says on the paper, which makes me crazy because my life and everything, how can I do it now? That is that answer which you've written down, of those answers which you've written down that day, is the real you. It's not the stress, not the worries you have, that is the real you. And that's really important. So I hope this exercise will help. And I know for certain it will help if people will really do it, because you have so much knowledge inside of you. And if you just take the time.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I just, perhaps one thing I would add to that would be, sometimes it also helps to go into nature for this. That is also in an environment. So literally to sit with it can be helpful, or to do that in a space where you really feel comfortable. Some people also, it would be, to go for a run, but then, leave all of your heart rate equipment and all of your sounds and whatever at home, but just run and have that same thought or that same question in your mind. And indeed, asking the right question there, and what makes you happy is a beautiful one. Or what can I do today? With something in mind which you want to achieve. What can I do today? Those are in the same format. You can do this, and it will really help you. Well, thank you, Jonathan. It was an inspirational half hour. I hope our listeners took some inspiration from it, and perhaps try the exercise too. It will help them for sure. And I thank you for your wonderful insights, and we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me, and I can talk about this for hours, of course. But thank you for this.
That's the beauty of being passionate at it. I have the same thing. I can talk for hours about the subject as well.
But half an hour is good enough, and I hope people will get from it, whatever it is, and that's why I do it. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you for watching and listening, and hope to speak to you soon.
Bye, Jonathan.
Goodbye.